Oh, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 111, Maximus Domius of my little hockey show, where once a week I just talk about the NHL, going through the news and what's happening around the league, mainly focusing in on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be talking about all 32 teams on this podcast. And what are we talking about this week? Well, I must admit, one hell of a light news week. There was virtually nothing. I didn't write down anything of note, so we'll be going through the signings and we'll be continuing the overviews of some mysterious teams. I'm pretty sure I know which teams I want to talk about, but before we get into the overviews, we should probably go to the recent signings that happened in the NHL, because as is tradition, huge signings went down right after I finished recording last week. So let's just talk about those, and let's get in with the big one that dropped essentially right after I uploaded last week's podcast. And that man is Buffalo's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, one of the best names in the league. 25-year-old goaltender signs a 5-year extension worth $4.75 million per season. And this is going to be a very, very important deal for the Buffalo Sabres. This is not going to say it's essentially going to make or break them, but this is a deal that could age so good for the Buffalo Sabres. If Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen can continue to play the way that he did in the back half of the season, where he was one of the top goaltenders in the league and almost was good enough to get Buffalo into a playoff spot, the thing is, he's got to keep that play going. If he doesn't, and he falls back to how he was playing a couple years ago, a little bit inconsistent, then yeah, this 4.75 isn't going to age the greatest. But for what it is right now, I think this looks like a very good deal that could age very, very good. I don't think it would be like a Shesterkin, contract that ages that good, where Shesterkin signed that deal for like 5-something million, 5 years, and he became one of the best goaltenders in the league. And maybe that is what is going to happen with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He's 25 now, so it's, again, with goaltenders, it's so difficult. They can be amazing one year, trash the next year, win the Vezina the next year. I'm essentially just talking about Bobrovsky, but that happens with a lot of goaltenders, man. They're good one year, and then the next year, not so much. It's the goaltenders that can stay consistent. They're the best goaltenders in the entire league, but even those guys have had off years. Look at Sorokin and Vasilevsky, two of the top goaltenders in the league, both coming off of not so good years. So with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, he is still kind of young and not the longest track record, but at this point, where Buffalo is at, let's talk about the Buffalo Sabres. We'll go into the Buffalo Sabres overview, and let's take a look at this freaking team. And is the Buffalo Sabres finally going to end their ridiculous playoff drought that I don't even know how long it's at now? Over 13 years, something silly like that, since 2006 or 7, I think was the last time they made it. Way too long, bro. So let's take a look at the Buffalo Sabres roster. Do they have the goods to take themselves to the playoffs? All right, so the Buffalo Sabres, like I said, have not made the playoffs in a very, very, very long time. And I don't know, the last 2 or 3 years now, I feel like they have a good enough team to have made the playoffs, but they've just, something has gone wrong. Last year, honestly, I was like, I wasn't really confident in them going into the season with Devin Levi and UPL as their two goaltenders. Just Devin Levi was too young and unproven, and that turned out to be the right thing, because Buffalo just didn't have the goods. Devin Levi not quite ready yet. He needs a little bit more time to cook, and there's nothing wrong with that. He is still an extremely young goaltender. So in terms of the overview of the team, they got $8.4 million in cap space right now, so they definitely have enough money to make a move or two if they need to. We'll find out what this team really needs to do, but they have some cap space, so that's really good. In terms of draft pick capital, they have all their own picks. They do have an extra fourth round pick in 25 and 2 extra seventh round picks in 25. So they have all their draft picks if they have to. It'd be at this point still be very risky to move any of their first rounders. You maybe don't want to do that until you actually make the playoffs, I would think, but they have a little bit of extra draft picks and all their draft picks to play with, so that is good. Now, in terms of the team breakdown, we start with the forwards. We have Tage Thompson, who is coming off of not the best year in terms of goal scoring, where he came from just a year ago, or the year prior, where he had almost 50, or he had 50 or something, 47 goals. So, in 22-23, 78 games, 7 goals, 47 assists, 94 points. Tage Thompson had emerged, and then last season, 71 games, only 29 goals, 27 assists, 56 points. So a massive drop-off of almost 40 points. And yes, so there was a slow start. There was some injuries that Tage Thompson was dealing with, but over the last 2 years prior to that, 38 goals and 47 goals, back down to just about 30. So, I don't know, was 47, 94 points, is that a career year for Tage Thompson? Is that the pinnacle? And from here on out, are we expecting more of a 35-ish goal scorer, 65, 70 point kind of guy out of Tage Thompson? I mean, considering the cap hit that he has, that's still pretty freaking good. But if Tage Thompson can get back to that play where he was scoring 47 goals, showing, looking, I shit you not, he looked like Mario Lemieux sometimes. He's so big, and he has the hand skills, man. He's very good puck handler. He can score, so Tage Thompson needs to find his game back this season, needs to get back to, it'd be great if he can hit the 40-goal mark again, but I would fall probably somewhere in the middle of that, be like 35 to that 40-goal range would be ideal for him, 70 points around there, but yeah, this is going to be a really interesting season for Tage Thompson to kind of really determine where is he? Is he more to that 94-point range, or is he more towards that 70-point range? I feel like we're going to get a fairly solid answer with, no injuries or anything like that. We'll find out what's going on with Tage Thompson, but a very, very unique player for sure, and very, very important for Buffalo if they're going to make it to the playoffs. Then we have Dylan Cousins, who had, I can't remember if he was the one that had the great year last season, or if he was the one that also had a bit of a down year. So, with Dylan Cousins, he now is signed to a pretty good extension, but at $7.1 million for the next eternity. And same with Tage Thompson. He's only making $7.142 million. So a pretty damn good bargain right there for Tage Thompson. Dylan Cousins, on the other hand, currently, last season was not awesome for Dylan Cousins compared to the season that he had before, which got him this $7.1 million extension. 2 years ago, 31 goals, 37 assists, 68 points. Very nice. Last season, 47 points, only 18 goals. So that was kind of the thing with Buffalo last year. It kind of seemed like everyone that had big years the year prior wasn't popping off last year. And then some guys that weren't popping off a couple of years ago were popping off last year. So I don't know. It just seemed like the timing was off with Buffalo last year. But Dylan Cousins needs to bounce back from 47 points. That is not good enough for a $7 million player. So hoping that he is, again, I'm looking at only 3 full seasons here, and you're seeing 13 goals, 31 goals, and 18. So I would expect somewhere in the middle of that, 25-ish goals would be, a good, a good goal to reach for Mr. Who the hell are we even talking about? Mr. Cousins. But right now, definitely got to step up that point production and get her going. So eyes are going to be on Dylan Cousins. He's still only 23 years old, so he's young, and he's still working his way up. They have Jason Zucker they brought in. I can't remember. Let's see. Was he with Buffalo last season, or did he just get brought in? He's making $5 million right now, and Whoa, wow. Okay, Jason Zucker's been around, bro. Yeah, so they brought him in for some veteran leadership on the top 6. He was with Nashville last season and the now defunct Arizona Coyotes. He had 25 points with Zona and then 7 points with Nashville. So I don't know. At this point, he is an older player. Probably, I don't know if he will slot into that top 6, maybe middle 6, something like that. But regardless, he's 32. He's going to add in some extra offense, some leadership, and he's a solid two-way player. Now we got my boy, Alex Tuch. I freaking love this player, but another guy that is coming off a down year compared to some of the years that he had prior. So last season, Tuch only got 54... Whoa, hold up now. Never mind, that's penalty minutes. 59 points last season in 75 games, 22 goals, 37 assists. Not bad. Not bad at all, especially for the cap hit. That's still a bargain in my eyes. But the year before that, 74 games, 36 goals, 43 assists, 79 points. So we're seeing a pattern here for what was going on with Buffalo last year. People were shooting for the stars in 22, 23, and I don't know, they blew their load then and just ran out of gas for 23, 24, I guess. But Tuch, down 20 points from the year prior, hoping that he can get back up to that. I think 36 goals, honestly, that's by far a career year. He has never hit anywhere near that, only has 20 goals twice in his career. So, hey, another guy, if he can shoot for 25 goals, I think they would be happy. Go for 30, buddy. I don't care. Go for 30. That would be sick. But if he continues to be a 60-point player for under $5 million, man, this is a fantastic contract for the Buffalo Sabres. He loves being a Buffalo Sabre. Like, Alex Tuch is the man. I love Alex Tuch. He's awesome. So we got Jordan Greenway. I like this player as well, brought in from Minnesota. Kind of was always looking for a little bit more out of Jordan Greenway in Minnesota, looking for a little more offense. He's this big guy. Like, he's going to be nice in the bottom 6 for Buffalo. He's going to add in some size, which they've kind of struggled with. They haven't been a big hitting team. They haven't been a big team, honestly. They just have been kind of quick and skilled. So adding in Jordan Greenway, we'll see if that's a good decision for them. $3 million for 1 year, so there's low risk to that. He's 27 years old. Hopefully he can find some offense. They also brought in Ryan McLeod, who is he's from Edmonton. I'm pretty sure he's that really speedy kid. He's 24 years old, so again, that's going to add in some depth and some forward depth with some speed at $2.1 million for 1 year, and he's restricted after that, so they can hang on to him. They brought in Sam Lafferty from Vancouver for $2 million. If he can do what he did in Vancouver, $2 million should be okay. It might be a little bit expensive, but again, with the salary cap going up and all that jazz, how did he do last season with Vancouver? In 79 games, he put up 24 points, and he was playing like definitely bottom 6, fourth line minutes, 13 goals, 11 assists. Yeah, if you can provide that, $2 million might be a little bit expensive for that, but bringing them in from free agency, that's just the way she goes. They also have Nicholas Aube-Kubel, former Toronto Maple Leaf, and yeah, just another solid-ish fourth line, bottom 6 guy, a little bit of depth. They have Beck Malenstein, similar, and then they have Zach Benson. They have the young guys here, so they have Zach Benson, Jack Quinn, Jason Peterka, okay, I didn't know that was, and Peyton Krebs. So Peyton Krebs, they still need to sign. They have the $8 million. I don't think he's going to be taking up all that money, but by far the one that had the most successful season last year would be Peterka. Peterka really had quite a standout season for a fairly mediocre season from a lot of other players last year. 82 games, 28 goals, 22 assists, 50 points, and that's a huge increase from the 12 goals that he had the year prior. So again, I'm not going to say that, now Peterka is a bona fide, he should hit 30, but maybe he just had a great year. But we'll keep our eyes on Peterka for maybe he can become the 30-goal scorer. That would be awesome for them. They have Jack Quinn. Let's take a look at Jack Quinn. Is he the one that's I think he was dealing with a little bit of injury problems last year, only got into 27 games last year. So yeah, I think he had like a broken leg or something like that. So he's definitely looking to build on what was a pretty damn solid rookie season where he had 37 points in 75 games. And in the 27 games that he had last year, 19 points. So yeah, that's if they can get him in to the lineup, keep him healthy, that should be like in and around another 50-point-ish player to add into the team. And who knows, maybe he pops off this year. This is his third NHL season. That's generally where players start to figure things out. So we'll have our eyes on Jack Quinn for a possible breakout season. At least Buffalo is going to be hoping for that, absolutely. So let's take a look at this Peyton Krebs guy. They have so many freaking young guys that I'm mixing them up and I can't remember who's who anymore. But okay, Peyton Krebs just hasn't played much. Okay, here we go. So he's been with Buffalo for a few years. He got brought over in the Vegas deal. I believe that was the Jack Eichel trade. They got Peyton Krebs in. Last year, 80 games, only 17 points. So yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot more to get out of Peyton Krebs. He's 23 years old now. And, oh man, when was this guy drafted? He was drafted 17th overall in the first round. So there is something here. I just don't know if Buffalo's going to be able to uncover it at this point. He just really hasn't been producing all that well. Only 4 goals last year as well. So, yeah, hoping for a bounce back. That might be why they don't have him signed just yet. Maybe there is a little bit of a conversation about money and, like, where's that going? But we'll see. I would imagine Peyton Krebs is going to get signed, but as of right now, he is not. And then they have Zach Benson, the 19-year-old winger. Let's see if this guy is going to come in and make an impact for Buffalo. Last season, yes, he played 71 games, 11 goals, 19 assists, 30 points. I mean, not amazing or anything, but a solid rookie season. And at times, he looked very, very impressive. So looking for Zach Benson to add on to that. Hoping, like, hey, maybe this guy can get into that 20-goal range this season, into the 50 points. That would be great for them. He is only 19 years old, so just, relax. And he's small. He's only 5'9". Oh, how is he gonna make it in the NHL? I just don't know. So, with Buffalo, not a bad forward group. Like, it really doesn't, it's not the most electric. Like, yeah, they have some good players here in Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, if he can bounce back. It's a solid top 6, but they're going to need some big performances out of the young guys. They need Jack Quinn to take a step. They need Zach Benson to take a step. They need Peterka to continue to be that 28-goal guy. That would be fantastic. And if they can have the depth, Jordan Greenway, chip in a couple extra goals, Alex Tuck, like everyone needs to bounce back this season and really get off to a good start. Buffalo needs a good start to the season. Their forward group is pretty solid, I would say. Solid to goodish. I can see them scoring goals, but is it the most defensively responsible looking forward group? No, not really. There could be some problems there, but let's take a look at their defense because they have a lot of players on defense. So obviously we have Rasmus Dahlin, an absolute stud, making $11 million now. And I would say at this point in his career, at 24, he's probably essentially always going to be in the Norris conversation. Will he win one at some point? I would like to think so, absolutely. But he as well came down a little bit from a 73-point season a couple years ago down to 59 points, but 20 goals. 20 goals from a defenseman is incredibly impressive. So that could be a career goal total for Rasmus Dahlin, but if he becomes a perennial, 20-ish goal guy, like, damn, that would be awesome. 60-plus points. Yes, they're absolutely going to need a Norris caliber level defensive performance out of Rasmus Dahlin this year. And what about Owen Power? 21 years old now, and he's making the big boy money. $8.35 million for the 21-year-old defenseman, former first overall pick, and his numbers, they aren't super flashy. 35 points, 33 points last season. It's his overall game. The kid is huge. He can play huge minutes, and he's just going to continue to get better. And considering how, already good his defensive game was coming into the NHL, it's, this guy could become one of the best. I don't think he's like a defensive defenseman, just a two-way defenseman, but he should be hopefully becoming a defensive stud for the Buffalo Sabres. He's huge. He's 6'6", 220 pounds, got the reach. this guy is going to be very, very important for the Buffalo Sabres. But if he can get up, get those point totals up a little bit more each year, and that's going to help out a lot. And another super important, underrated defenseman for them is Mattias Samuelsson, 24-year-old defenseman, and he is just a fantastic defensive defenseman, stays at home, and allows whoever, I think he's generally paired with Staaling, allows Staaling to go do his thing. And a big part of why Buffalo kind of fell apart last year was Samuelsson getting injured, and the team kind of fell apart from that. So hoping that Samuelsson stays nice and healthy, he's locked in for many years, that could be awesome. And he's only 24 for $4.2 million. That is a really nice deal right there. And then they brought in Bowen Byram last year in the Middlestat trade to Colorado. I like the deal. It's a very young defensive core. There is not, the oldest guy is 29 years old. You got 24, 21, 24, 23, 29, 25, 26. This is a young-ass defensive core right here, but again, Staaling, he is no rookie. He's been in the league for quite some time now. Owen Power on his third or fourth year now, and yeah, so these guys are getting more familiar, but it is a very young defensive core. But Bowen Byram looking like, hopefully he's got a really good home here in Buffalo. He's going to get more time, more opportunity to get more points, and in the 18 games that he played with Buffalo last year, he got 9 points, 3 of those goals. So not bad. That's projecting to be around a 45, 50 point defenseman. That's going to be fantastic for Buffalo. So hoping for a good year for Bowen Byram. We got Connor Clifton, that is their veteran defenseman at 29 years old. They have Henry Jokiharju and Jacob Breeson. I don't know who that one is, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's your 7th. Not a bad defensive core. Again, it's very young. I like Owen Power. I like Rasmussen or Staaling. I like Samuelsson, Bowen Byram. These are all really good defensemen. Staaling at this point, I would say, is a bona fide top 2 defenseman for sure. And if Owen Power can also become a bona fide top 2, you got a team with 2 top 2 defensemen. You could split them up, and yeah, Buffalo could be hard to handle on the back end. And then with goaltending, they tried to fix it a little bit by bringing in James Reimer. So, Rhyme time, Optimus Rhyme, that's my boy right there, former Toronto Maple Leaf. And at this point, he's 36 years old. He signed for 1 year, $1 million as a veteran goaltender to help out with the goaltending load. Because last year, it didn't work out having Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen running the show. Devin Levi I just don't think he's ready yet, and the pressure maybe got to him a little bit. He's 22 years old, so at this point in his career, it looks like they're going to send him down, let him cook in the AHL or wherever the fuck he's going to be, let him cook down there for a little bit. If they got to call him up for a few games, they're going to call him up, he's going to play, and we'll see how it goes. But I think it's better for him just to be the starter down there, and just we'll go with this one. I feel better with their goaltending tandem of UPL and James Reimer than I did last year with UPL and Devin Levi. So we'll see. They could even potentially add in maybe another goaltender. I don't know. But it's all going to depend on how Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen plays this season. If he plays like he did in the back half of last year, starts the season like that, and you have Buffalo, everyone bouncing back, the young guys start to click, the defense is playing good, Staaling and Power, Power takes another step, Bowen Byram maybe emerges, finally getting some ice time and consistent power play minutes. I would like to think that this team can make it. I really do. But at this point, I'm just going to say they're going to be on the fringes trying to get in. That's where I'm going to have them right now. This team doesn't, explode playoff to me. It just doesn't. The forward group doesn't really impress me all that much until we start to see the young kids emerging. Once those young kids start to emerge and we see what they're really all about, that could be a very deadly forward core. But right now, with everyone coming off of down years, we'll see what happens with Buffalo, man. I don't think that all those guys are going to hit those numbers that they did. I don't know if Tage Thompson's going to be that 47, 95-point guy again. We'll see about that. But regardless, he's only making $7.1 million. Such a bargain. They have really good deals on this team. The biggest one, obviously, is Rasmus Staaling. He's making $11 million, which is a lot of money. But they got some other really good young guys locked in. If they start to, like I said, they start to emerge, that $8.3 million on Owen Power could look really, really good in a few years. I think that Samuelsson deal is awesome already. They got great deal on Tage Thompson, and we'll see about Dylan Cousins. Right now, it's kind of it looks a little bit scary, but hoping that Dylan Cousins can pop back in for a good season, that would be good. But for me right now, I'm not convinced that this team can confidently make the playoffs, but I think they're definitely going to be in the mix for fighting for a playoff spot is the Buffalo Sabres. But let me know, what do you think the Buffalo Sabres are going to do this year? Is it just going to be another wasted year, another year of no playoffs for the Buffalo Sabres? It's just business as usual, right? It's the same story that's been going on for years and years and years. But I think, importantly, Buffalo needs to get off to a really good start. That's kind of been a struggle, and a lot of things have to go right. You gotta stay healthy. You gotta all that kind of shit. You gotta hope that the new guys that they brought in can make a big impact and don't take too long to get used to the new systems and all that shit. So I'm hoping for Buffalo, man. You don't want to see a team and a fan base suffer this long. It would just be nice for them to make it into the playoffs, but I don't want them to make it into the playoffs just to get swept, right? So I want them to actually be good enough to make the playoffs and maybe do a little bit of damage. And at this point, I just don't see it out of this team. But they're close. Very, very close. But that's, again, kind of been the same story for quite some time now. But let me know, do you think the Buffalo Sabres are going to make it into the playoffs this time? So now we will go back to the signing board, and another big one that went down after I was done recording and talking about him a whole bunch and his team is Philadelphia Flyers. Travis Konecny gets the 8-year extension worth $8.75 million for the 27-year-old right winger. And hey, that's a pretty good deal right there for what he's done. Probably could have got a little bit more, probably could have, taken a little bit less, but for his age and the production that he's given Philadelphia over the last few years, yeah, I think that's a pretty good deal. And Travis Konecny, not only is a very skilled player, but he's a little bit nasty too, man. He's got a little bit of fire in there that I know the Flyers fans really enjoy. This deal will take him till he's 35, 36 years old, so it could get a little bit lean there in year 7 or 8, but I think for a very vast majority of this contract will be just fine. And again, the salary cap continues to rise, and each year that it rises, the deal will look a little bit better, and a little bit better, and then it'll look really, 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 really bad, and then he'll retire and he'll be okay. We'll forget about it. So Travis Konecny, 8 years, 8.75. What do we think about that one? I think it's a fine deal. It's very solid. It's not great, it's not bad, it's a solid deal in and around what you would expect Travis Konecny to sign for. Now we have New York Islanders. Oliver Wahlstrom signs a 1-year, $1 million contract. At this point, 24-year-old right winger, I just don't know if he's going to find that offense. Always seemed like he was going to be a goal scorer in this league, and it just hasn't come around yet. And that might just be the problem with the New York Islanders. They kind of have a problem developing young players. And yeah, this just looks like it's going to be another guy that kind of just doesn't make it, which really sucks. I was a fan of Oliver Wahlstrom. I know the hockey guy always talks about Oliver Wahlstrom, which makes me a fan of Oliver Wahlstrom because I'm always hearing about how good this guy is, and it's just a matter of time before he breaks through, and here we are. He's 24 now, so I don't know if it's going to happen. We get a couple of entry-level deals. Carter George signs his entry-level deal with LA, and Brandon Yager signs his entry-level deal with Pittsburgh. I believe he was selected last year. And at this point, Pittsburgh is desperate for young, talented players. They haven't been drafting for the last 15 years because of playoff success and trading away all their picks. And we'll see what happens with Brandon Yager. I've heard rumblings that this guy could potentially make the team. Why not? He's young. And they need that. Pittsburgh's a very old team. They could definitely use a little influx of some young, up-and-coming talent. That would be really nice for Pittsburgh and Brandon Yager, but we'll find out at training camp or whatever the heck. We'll see if this kid can make the team. I'm hoping so. I remember Brandon Yeager like quite vividly throughout the draft. I remember his name before the draft and being rather surprised how far he fell in the draft. And, this could be a banger of a pick for Pittsburgh. We'll see how it goes. He is a center too, which they also need some help with. All right, so we have Simon Lundell gets a contract extension, league minimum from Winnipeg. And we get some Columbus signings here. So Kent Johnson gets his contract extension, 3 years, $1.8 million per season. So we're looking at a bridge deal here for the 21-year-old center. It's a bigger bridge deal too. Usually a bridge is 2 years, but we're going 3 on this one. And yeah, with Kent Johnson, we're looking for that breakthrough right here. So last season, only got into the 42 games, only 16 points, a -2, coming off of a 40-point season prior, -19. So this year now with the whole new management and new ownership, well, not new ownership, but new coaching and all of that stuff in Columbus, maybe finally they start to get some consistent coaching and traction with Kent Johnson, because they need that to happen. He was their 5th overall pick in 2021. So there are some pretty big expectations for where this kid was supposed to slot in the future of this team. So really, really going to be needing him to jump in and play some good hockey this year. Last year really wasn't his fault. He was getting called up, called down, and only got into 42 games. A very inconsistent season. All of last year for Columbus was just a fucking nightmare with Babcock, and just, kind of chalk it up to a mulligan and hope a fresh start this season will be good for the team, and especially the younger guys like Kent Johnson. So hoping he really needs to get going this season. And they also signed Kirill Marchenko for 3 years, $3.85 million for the 24-year-old winger. And this guy, he could score, man. He could score. He had 23 goals last year. I mean, if he can bring those assist totals up even more, he had the fun year a couple years ago, 21 goals, 4 assists. So he brought that up to 19 assists this season. If he can get to like 25 goals, 25 assists, 50 points, you got yourself a pretty nice bargain contract right there. So I'm fine with that signing, looking pretty all right. We get some more, league minimum deals here with Isaac Phillips and Louis Crevier for the Chicago Blackhawks. Just a couple of young defensemen. And speaking of young defensemen, let's talk about Brock Faber, who just signed an 8-year extension worth $8.5 million for the 21-year-old defenseman. Wow. All right, they are not screwing around with this guy, and I completely understand why. His rookie season was outstanding. If he wasn't going up against Connor Bedard, he would have won the Calder. 82 games, 8 goals, 39 assists, 47 points for the rookie defenseman, and he's also a damn good defenseman. He can play defense. This guy's going to be important for the Minnesota Wild going forward, man. And crazy thing is, he wasn't even a draft pick of Minnesota's. He was a second-round pick of the Los Angeles Kings. Probably kicking themselves now that they let him go. The right shot defenseman. Yeah, this guy is going to be very, very important for the future of the Minnesota Wild. And it looks like they know that too, giving him the massive extension. And this one could age very, very nicely. If he continues to improve and build on what he's already a very, very good defenseman, dude, that deal could be nasty. Absolutely nasty going forward. So I am a big fan of what Minnesota did with this deal right here. And speaking of Minnesota, I think we should go and do the Minnesota Wild, and let's see what's going on with them, and could they make it back into the playoffs this year? I do believe they missed it last year. Not by much, but at this point, they're dealing with some salary cap problems with the whole buyouts and all that stuff. Will Billy Guerin be able to get Minnesota into the playoffs this year? Let's take a look. So they have $1.531 million in cap space right now. Not a lot to work with, that's for sure. So, yeah, oh my God. And they don't have it. Well, they have a lot and a little draft picks. So in 2025, they're a little bit depleted. They don't have their 3rd, 5th, or 7th, but they have the rest. And then in 2026, they loaded up a little bit. They got an extra 3rd, an extra 4th, a 5th, an extra 6th. So They got some extra draft capital in 26 to play with if need be. So that's good. But yeah, it'd be nice if they had that third for sure. Let's see. Okay, forward group. We got Kirill the Thrill. We know what this guy's all about. He's an absolute stud, a bona fide superstar in this league, and on a bargain contract at $9 million, 27 years old. I do believe he had a bit of a down season last year. Not really at all. Actually, he had a fan-fucking-tastic season. 96 points in 7 games, 46 goals, 50 assists. This guy is an absolute monster. Nothing to say negatively about Kirill the Thrill. Just try your best to stay as healthy as possible. And then we have Matt Boldy, one of the young up-and-coming guys. He is now making $7 million. He's making the big boy money, and he needs to start producing like a big boy. And I would say he's been doing a pretty good job at that. 69 points last year. Nice. 29 goals, 40 assists in 75 games. Damn near a point-a-game player. For $7 million, you could do worse. You can absolutely do worse. I am fine with that. Matt Boldy is a really good player, and who knows? Hopefully we can see him hit that point-a-game player at this point this season. That would be very good for the Minnesota Wild. We still got Matt Zuccarello. He's still here at 4.125. He's 36 years old now. So if there is going to be a drop-off in his game, we're probably going to start seeing that this season. Hopefully not, though, because he's been so freaking good for Minnesota since he's shown up. He has just been a great fitting with Kirill the Thrill. He had 63 points last year in 69 games. Nice. And let's see if he can keep it up, man. If he can keep that up, that's a great bargain contract. It's for the next 2 years. Who knows? If Matt Zuccarello can continue to be a 60-point player, that's a great deal. You have Joel Eriksson Ek, I would think one of the more underrated players in the league. This guy's awesome. Super awesome two-way forward. Score you 30 goals. Got 30 goals last year, 60 points. Yeah, I really, really like Eriksson Ek. He's a fantastic little player that nobody talks about. I really like him. He's a good little blur. We got Marcus Foligno, the emotional leader of the team. He's making $4 million, which I think it's a little bit much for the production that he brings in terms of points, but he brings a lot of other elements to Minnesota that, it's very important. He's that emotional leader. He fights, he hits, he's the leader of the team, man. Is he the captain? I don't think he's the captain, no. But yeah, only 22 points last year. He's kind of been falling off the last couple seasons after a 42-point season, but consistently he's been a 20-25-point guy. So you get what you get out of Marcus Foligno. It'd be nice if he can chip in 10-plus goals for them in their bottom 6. You would imagine he's going to be playing there, but yeah, $4 million that's a little bit much. And then they have Ryan Hartman. Ryan Hartman's been a little bit of an adventure for them since he's shown up. He first got here, was unfreaking believable. He had 34 goals, 65 points in his first season, and then he's been kind of struggling to get it back ever since. He was injured. He had 59 games played, only 37 points, and then last year, 74 games played, 45 points. He did get 21 goals, which is pretty good. So, with his goal totals, I'm looking here in Minnesota, 34 goals, 15 goals, and 21. So I would hope with a nice fresh new year, if he could stay healthy, let's shoot for 25 goals for Ryan Hartman. That would be huge for them. If he can get to 50 points, that would also help out a lot. And try to play a little bit more consistent. I remember, Hartman going ice cold for very long stretches and then getting a little bit hot. So if he could play a little bit more consistent, that would be preferred. They have Jakob Trenin. He's making $3.5 million now. That's a lot of freaking money, man. What the fuck are they thinking with that one? So last season he played in 76 games. 60 of those games were with Nashville. He got 14 points, and then he got traded to Colorado in 16 games, only 3 points. So explain to me how that earns you $3.5 million. I'm not really sure. He is 6'9" or something. He is big. He is 6'2", 200 pounds. So maybe there's a good defensive game here with some physicality. I don't really know with that one. That is 3.5 seems way too rich for me, and it's a long contract too, over 4 years. So we'll see how that one goes. Maybe Minnesota's pro scouts see something in Trenin that they think could fit very well with their organization. Well, very interesting. We'll see how that one plays out. They have Frederick Gaudreau. Did they bring this guy? He's been here for a while, right? Yeah, he's been here for a long. All right, he's been here for a couple. Damn, dog. This guy had a hell of a year. All right, hold up. Never mind. Not really. Not last year, but a couple years prior, he had some good seasons. I didn't know that. So in 21-22, he had 44 points, and in 22-23, 38 points, and then last year, only 15 points in 67 games. So must have been some injury problems there. Definitely going to be looking for a bounce back for Frederick Gaudreau to get back to that 40-point range. That would be great. That would be very ideal for them. They have Marcus Johansson here on $2 million. He's 33 now, so I don't know if you're going to get a hell of a lot of production out of him, but for $2 million, not bad at all. And now we're going to start getting into some of the younger names. That is a hell of a name, my friend. I'm going to try my best. Marat Kuznetsov. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Don't know a damn thing about this guy. They have Liam Ogren. Don't know much about him either. And the other big one is Marco Rossi. They need him to also continue to build off of what was a pretty damn good season last year. So he started to emerge, you would say, 82 games, 21 goals, 19 assists, 40 points. So you're going to want to build onto that one, continue to get better. If you can reach the 25 and maybe 25 assists, 30 assists, hit 50, 55 points, that would be a very good build on top of a pretty solid season last year. So they're going to need Boldy to continue to build on that. And he's got one more year on his entry-level deal, so that is another, what is probably going to be a fairly big contract to deal with. They're going to have to deal with that one soon. And right now, no, I don't think he's, worked his way up to a contract like Matt Boldy, earning $7 million, but he could. If he can crack 60 points this year or something like that, then it's going to make that conversation a lot tougher. So I don't know if Minnesota Wild fans are hoping Rossi pops off this year or not, but I think it would be good for their team. Overall, their forward group, they can score. There's some pretty good, some decent depth here. They just got to hope that the consistency with Hartman and Foligno and hopefully Zuccarello doesn't take a step back and he continues to be that 60, 70-point guy for Minnesota. That would be great. In terms of their defense, so they're led by Jared Spurgeon. And yeah, he's making $7.5 million now. He's 34. Wow. Geez, he aged quickly, but he's a really good all-around defenseman, man. He's well worth that money. He's really good. Another guy that's underrated. Doesn't get a lot of love. Jonas Brodin probably fits into that as well. At $6 million, that might be a little bit rich, but he's another really good, solid defenseman. And then there's the rest of them. So they have Jacob Middleton, Zach Bogosian, John Merrill, Declan Chisholm, Brock Faber, of course, and Alex Goligoski. He's 39 years old right now and not signed. So I don't know if he is going to sign again at 39 years old, but defensively, they got a pretty nice top four. Spurgeon, Brodin, Faber, and maybe Bogosian, Middleton, one of the two. Not bad. It lacks a little bit of depth there. They could use an extra maybe defenseman or two, but not a bad defense core. Not bad at all. And then their goaltending. They have Philip Gustafsson and Marc-Andre Fleury. Very, very questionable goaltending tandem. So Philip Gustafsson was a absolute freaking stud 2 years ago, and then he signed his contract, which looked like it was going to be amazing, a bargain contract. He had a .931 save percentage 2 years ago, and then last season, .899. So thankfully they didn't shoot for the moon and give him a huge extension, $6 million. Because this is what happens with goalies, man. They have an amazing year, and then a dud, and then amazing. And that's what I am seeing right here with Gustafsson's career. He had a .933 and then went down to an .892 to a .931 to an .899. So with that pattern being, he's due for a .930 save percentage this year minimum. So there you go, Minnesota. You're on your way back to the playoffs. If Gustafsson can play like that, I think this team can make it. But if Gustafsson and Fleury are sub 900 save percentages, I don't think this team stands a chance to making the playoffs, honestly. It's all going to come down to that goaltending. And at this point with Marc-Andre Fleury, you're not going to put all the pressure on him. He's 39 years old. He's only making $2.5 million, and he wasn't bad. Well, he wasn't really good. He had an .895 save percentage last year and 40 games played. So not amazing. He's still he's still playing. So at this point, I wouldn't expect like an amazing season out of Marc-Andre Fleury. He may even end up getting traded if Minnesota decides, hey, we're not making the playoffs. Mark, do you want to go to a team and try and fight for another cup somewhere? Like, we would absolutely oblige. Like, just picture Pittsburgh's on their way into the playoffs and one of their goalies goes down. They need a goalie. Marc-Andre Fleury to the rescue. That would be a fun storyline right there. So, let's just see. So they still have to do the buyouts for Parise and Suter. This year, it's still hitting them for $7 million each on the cap hit. That's what I'm reading here. That's fucking insane. $14 million. 16% of their cap is just gone, wasted, can't be used. Paying off players that are not even on your team anymore. So that really sucks, but that's the last year of it being like a massive, massive penalty to them. Next year it goes down to $800,000 a piece. So massive amount of salary cap coming in for Minnesota next season, which they desperately, desperately need. But considering the team that they have with the 16 million, all that money being wasted, not bad work right here, man. Tidy work. There's some nice contracts here that could be bargains, or they could just be whatever, kind of not good, like the Hartman one. So we'll see. And Jakob Trennen's a very confusing one to me. Like I said, they might know something that I don't freaking know. But their defense and their forward groups are solid to good, not great, not bad. And same with their defense. Their defense, I would say, is like good. I would say it's a pretty good defense with Brock Faber there and shit. And if Brock Faber continues to get better, hell yeah. But the big thing is Philip Gustafsson. They need that goaltending to get back on track. No more sub-900 bullshit. We need Marc-Andre Fleury at a 910, and we need Gustafsson to get to that 930 again. So it's a guarantee. It's going to happen. According to stats, it's going to happen. So if Philip Gustafsson is back to that level, I could see Minnesota getting back to the playoffs. But if he's not good, then I don't think Minnesota's going to be making the playoffs this year either. Now, in other news, Eric Staal has retired from the NHL after 18 years. My goodness, hell of a career for Eric Staal right here. Long-time Carolina Hurricane. He was the captain for a very long time, and he holds a lot of their franchise records, pretty much, all the big ones. He has the most goals at 322, the most assists at 453, the most points at 775, most games played at 909, most power play goals at 105, most power play points at 252, and the most hat tricks at 13. So yeah, it's safe to say that Eric Staal was pretty important to the Carolina Hurricanes franchise. He won the Stanley Cup there in 2006, played with his brother, Jordan Staal, who's still there. He's the current captain of the team, if I do believe. Just looking at his stats here, I thought for a second he was like, oh, he won a Stanley Cup with Florida. I was like, oh, no, that was the year before when they went to the finals. So, yeah, Staal hasn't played in the NHL since the 22-23 season. He played in 1,365 games, 455 goals, 608 assists, 1,063 points. Man, that is an impressive year. Kind of seems like he popped off, kind of peaked really early in terms of points. He had that 100-point season the year they won the Stanley Cup. That was his best season that he ever had. But generally, good for 60, 70 points. Really like that player a lot. Too bad that he couldn't win another Stanley Cup there at the end with Florida. But, oh well, it is what it is. Good career for Eric Staal. Let's go back now to the contract signings that we got to finish up here. And geez, we're on the topic of Carolina. Carolina gets the Marty Necas deal done. He is staying for 2 years, $6.5 million per season for the 25-year-old center. That's what it says. I don't think he's a center. But anyway, Marty Necas. I did the overview of the Hurricanes a couple weeks ago, and looking at the team, just kind of made a lot of sense for Necas to stay. It's there's a spot here for you. I don't know what you're complaining about. So it looks like maybe they have turned that page and maybe Martin Necas doesn't want to trade, or they'll revisit it in another day. I'm not sure, but all we know is that that door got closed pretty quickly after the free agency went down and everyone spent all their money. A lot of the trade options got closed down. So Marty Necas basically was like, well, I guess I better just fucking stay here or I'm not going to play this season. So Necas is going to be, I would think, motivated to play very good this season, to get other teams interested in him again, to get that ball rolling again, or just to stay in Carolina, produce well for a couple of seasons, and then bank on your big 27-year-old contract. Hopefully you get the big money at that point. But $6.5 million for like a 50, 60 point guy, not bad at all. Hopefully he can get back up to that like 70 points that he was doing a couple of years ago. That's, I imagine, what Carolina is hoping for, of course, but there's only one thing we can do, and that is wait. But the Montreal Canadiens got some work done. We'll finish off with Montreal. We'll do their overview. But they have re-signed Arber Xhekaj for 2 years, $1.3 million for the 23-year-old defenseman. Great deal right there. As long as he can stay healthy, no problems with that. New Jersey apparently signed a mystery goaltender, a 23-year-old goaltender that we don't know who he is because it's not there. So that's key. And on other Montreal signing, Justin Barron. 2 years, $1.15 million for the 22-year-old defenseman. And I do believe the expectations, the potential behind Barron are pretty high. Every time I hear about Justin Barron, it's usually a pretty good conversation. Problem is, the Sportsnet page for him will not load. So we will never know anything about Justin Barron, but he's 22, part of the young defensive core that is up and coming for the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see, man. Like, that's clear, just a bridge deal right there. Hopefully he can emerge in those 2 years and make Montreal pay him a whole bunch of money. But let's go now. Let's go over to the Montreal Canadiens. Take a look at their team and how they're looking coming into this year. They have been rebuilding for the last couple of seasons, got themselves a first overall pick, and they're doing not bad, man. Not bad at all in terms of their rebuild, I would say. Right now, they have $5.52 million in cap space, so they have a little bit of money to play with if need be. Wow, they have a lot of draft picks. Wow. They have 2 first-rounders in 25, 2 second-rounders, 3 third-rounders, 2 fourth-rounders, and 1 5th, 6th, and 7th, respectively. So, holy shit, they are absolutely loaded up for this draft as well. Not to say that they necessarily need to make all of those picks. They could absolutely trade a couple of those picks away to add in, whatever holes they have to fill on this team. They also have an extra 4th-round pick in 26. Other than that, they own all of their regular draft picks. So, yeah, they're loaded up in 25. They have a lot of capital right there. Lots of stuff they can do with those. And then their forward group, man. I'm looking at, some of these cap hits are horrendous, but some of them are just so darn good. Like Nick Suzuki, $7.875 million for the 24-year-old center. Love this player. He's just a fantastic two-way forward. And yeah, dude, he just produces. He had a best season of his career last year, 33 goals, 44 assists, 77 points. I think that is great value for the money that they are paying him, the current captain. And that's, the difference between Toronto and Montreal right now is that they're paying their stars. I know Suzuki and, they don't really have a star on the caliber of a Matthews, a Marner even a Nylander, I don't know. But they're not paying their guys that much money, and they're keeping the Nick Suzuki as like the threshold. That's like the top money, because Cole Caulfield right behind him at $7.85 million, $25,000 less for the 23-year-old goal scorer. Well, we like to think of him as the goal scorer, but he hasn't really been scoring as much as we would like to think. 23 goals, 26 goals, 28 goals. He's a good scorer, but would you call him one of the best in the league? Not with 28 goals in 82 games. No, thank you. But, I would have to think that Cole Caulfield is going to be a 30-plus goal scorer in this league at some point. Hopefully he doesn't go down the Brock Besser path where he gets injured a whole bunch, and it's just he definitely would have had 80 goals or 30 goals here and there, and oh well. But Cole Caulfield, a very good young player, and on a very nice cap hit. Nice cap hit right there. And then they have some that aren't so great on the cap hit side. Brendan Gallagher, $6.5 million for the next 3 years, but he is like the emotional leader of the team. And they have Josh Anderson, another not great deal, $5.5 million for the next 3 years. So could they trade Brendan Gallagher? I've seen it, but with that cap hit and the amount of years left, I don't know if it would be possible. So they might just have to work that one out. I've seen the Josh Anderson trade scenarios out there quite a few times. There was even a first-round draft pick offered to Montreal at one point for him, and they did not take it, which I bet they're kicking themselves for now. But, Josh Anderson, if only he could have been, played against the Toronto Maple Leafs every single night, he would have 180 goals and 1 million points and shit like that. But you don't get to play the Toronto Maple Leafs every night, and that's where he generally gets all of his goals. But he had a disaster year last season. 9 goals in 78 games. That is by far his worst total in his career. So he really needs to bounce back, or if not, it's going to be very, very difficult to trade that contract, and they're probably just going to have to hold on to him. They have Christian Dvorak for $4.45 million for the next year as a solid middle-ish 6 center. Joel Armia, really like Joel Armia. 3.4, a little bit rich, but I like him a lot. Now you have Kirby Dach, 23 years old. Can you stay healthy, please, Kirby? I really like you. I really like Kirby Dach, and just every year he gets injured. And last year was a really bad one. He missed the whole entire year, basically. He only got 2 games, 2 assists. So yeah, he needs to stay healthy and bounce back, because this is a good player right here. I really like that deal when they made with Chicago. I was shocked that Chicago made the deal, but maybe they knew about this injury history. So I don't know, but for right now, $3.36 million, very low risk. So just stay healthy, kiddo. Alex Newhook, another young one, $2.9 million for the 23-year-old, they say center, but, he fit in pretty decently for them last season. He came over from Colorado, I do believe. Pretty solid. Jake Evans, 1.7, solid bottom 6 forward. Harvey Pinard, he will be having surgery, I think, for a broken leg. So he is going to be missing the first part of the season. I think he's due to come back in November or December, sometime around there. Regardless, Harvey Pinard, he is a good little player, man. I believe they picked him up late in a draft, and he's been a solid little bottom 6 player. I like him too. And then you have Uri Slafkovsky, the first overall pick. He's still on one more year on his entry level. Then he gets the $7.6 million raise, and off he goes. And if he can continue what he did in the back half of last year, that is going to be a bargain, an absolute bargain. This guy could potentially reach a point a game this season. So if that's happening already, wow, Montreal had done a great job at signing this guy. So yeah, and Uri Slafkovsky, man, he looked really, really good. Just check out some of the numbers he was putting up down the stretch. Fuck yeah. They have Joshua Roy, he's 20 years old, center. I don't really know anything about him. Michael Pezzetta, bottom 6. Barre Boulay, they got Gignac, Tanner Pearson, and, Tanner Pearson and Colin White are not signed. I don't know if they are planning to sign them or not. They're just unrestricted free agents, so they're just out there. It is still a team on the rise, right? They're got a lot of nice pieces here. I like this core of Suzuki, Caulfield, excuse me, Slafkovsky, there's his freaking name, goddamn. So that's good 3 players right there up front. Gallagher's a good player, he's just way overpaid at this point in his career. Same thing with Josh Anderson, he's okay, I guess. He's not that good. Anyway, not the best offensive group, but if they can continue to build on what was some pretty good years last season, get Cole Caulfield to 30 goals, we get Dvorak, or why can't I remember his name? Slafkovsky, get him maybe to a point a game, 70 points, something like that. Be a good little season for Montreal. Now, I don't think they're going to be competing for no playoff spot or anything, but they've been improving year over year, and I think they're due for another improvement. Excuse me. Now on the back end, we got Mike Matheson, who had a fucking unreal year for Montreal last season. Defensively, not so much, but offensively, pretty fucking impressive for $4.875 million for the next 2 years for the 30-year-old defenseman. Yeah,
if he was he just doesn't really have much of a defensive game, but they do have David Savard. He's there on the right side, 3.5 for the next year. Just a solid veteran defenseman. They have Jordan Harris. He's a younger 24-year-old defenseman. Can't say I know much about this guy. I have not heard much about him. 1 more year, $1.4 million. Arbor Xhekaj, we know a whole bunch about this guy. Fan favorite, likes to fight, and I like that. Justin Barron, we just talked about him. Let's pull up his stats and just see what's been going on with him over the last couple of years. Got into 48 games last year, 13 points. That is, wow. And he had 7 goals. Wow, okay, that is very impressive. So, I could see what the hype might be around Justin Barron or whatever the hell. But he's here. We got Jaden Struble, Caden Gooley. I hear a lot about Caden Gooley. Hear lots of great things about him as well. And Jaden Struble. So this is a very young defensive core. Outside of their first 2 guys, 30 years old, 33. Then it goes down to 24, 23, 22, 22, and 22. So a very young defensive core. They do have some older guys to surround them in Savard and Matheson. They have Chris Weidman here, but he's not signed and doesn't seem like they plan on signing him. So, yeah, not a great defensive core there either. It's a very inexpensive one as well, so they're really not paying a lot for it. Only $14 million total for the whole entire defensive core. That's Matthews alone, so not bad for Montreal. It's not a very good defensive core. It's young, they're learning, and hopefully 1 or 2 of these guys break out for Montreal this season. Goaltending, it is now Sam Montembeault's net by the looks of it. $3.15 million for the next 3 years, backed up by Caden Primo. Again, not the best tandem, but Montembeault showed signs that, hey, this guy could be and maybe is a starting goaltender in the NHL. Is he the best one? No, not necessarily, but hey, not bad. If anything, Montreal could really maybe use another goaltender back there because they don't have Jake Allen anymore, sent him to New Jersey. So if one of those goalies goes down, like if Montembeault goes down, are you confident enough to go with Caden Primo for a whole bunch of games? Honestly, I wouldn't be if I was Montreal. And they don't really have anybody else down in the minors. They have Jacob Dobes and Connor Hughes, who's 27. So I think Montreal could be in the market, should be in the market for another goaltender if I was them, honestly. Other than that, man, yeah, I don't think they're going to be like necessarily lottery bad, but they're going to be probably in that bottom 12, bottom 10 teams in the league. But, they surprised me a little bit last year. I do believe they were, like, competitive for a little bit there. So we'll see what goes on with Montreal. I wouldn't be expecting too much. Just keep an eye on those young players. Hope that they keep getting better. And just the makeup of the roster and the salary caps that they have built in so far, looking very, very, very good for the future. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Montreal going forward. Let me know. Do you think Montreal is going to be competing for a playoff spot in any way, shape, or form? Or do they still have quite a bit of rebuilding to go? Let me know. But other than that, I think that is everything that I'm going to be talking about this week. I do think I saw that Jeff Carter retired randomly, even though he did like the season ticket thing for Pittsburgh, but I think he retired as well. So, hey, Jeff, what the fuck, man? He announced something. I don't know. Anyway, Eric Staal and Jeff Carter, those 2 guys are gone. They were pretty damn prominent players throughout my early days of watching hockey. So yeah, that's a big blow right there. I am sad. So let's end the show on a sad note. And thank you everybody so much for listening. If you have a team that I haven't talked about yet that you would like me to talk about now or on the next episode, just throw it out there. Other than that, I'm just going to be slowly going through all the teams and we're just talking about them. Quickly, the teams that I have talked about already. We got Nashville, Calgary, Pittsburgh, Washington, Edmonton, Carolina, Philadelphia, Columbus, San Jose, Buffalo. I just did Montreal and Minnesota. So any team that I didn't list there you would like me to talk about, throw it at me and we'll do their overview. Kind of waiting for the Leafs, holding on to the Leafs because I'm expecting something to go down. But yeah, I can do the Leafs. Doesn't really matter to me. All right, so in terms of what else we got going on with the podcast this week, I have no fucking clue. I'm thinking I'm probably just going to pull a random retro game out of my ass this week and just talk about it. I do have an idea, but I don't want to throw it out there yet just in case it doesn't go through and that would disappoint a lot of people. But there is a game I do have in mind, and maybe that's what I'm going to be talking about this week on the GamerCast. So, and there's a big WrestleCast this weekend. We got SummerSlam is this weekend. One of the big 4 pay-per-views, so I'm going to try to do predictions for that show, get them out for the recap, and then have an extra pay-per-view review for SummerSlam. So we're going to have an extra episode this week, so be on the lookout for all that stuff. I have a Twitter page where I put up announcements as best as I can. Links are all in the description. I upload all these episodes to the YouTube channel, Gamer GX Videos. Go over there, subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop a comment if you want an answer or a question answered on the podcast. I'll shout your name out, answer your question, and that would be a lot of fun interacting with the podcast. And if you want to be even more awesome than you are right now, make sure you're hitting that review button, hit the stars, like the podcast, let me know what you think about it. Tell a friend or two. If there's a friend that you might think will like this podcast, let them know about it. That would be awesome as you are. And there you go, everybody. We will be back again with some more GX Plus Cast.